between the UDA and DStv, or what should we anticipate even before the 2027 elections?
Well, thank you, Fred. I mean, starting with your question before I touch on some few issues that Fuaba have touched. You expect a lot of continuous mobilization because definitely the context in Ol Kalou was just a warm-up for what is going to happen in next year in August. It is so continuous mobilization, continuous partnerships will continue, and most importantly is that we have the United Alternative Government that need to complete on the structures on how to come up with a flag bearer and be able to consolidate their bases in readiness to face William Ruto in 2027. So that is predominantly what will be happening, because I do not in any way anticipate that we're going to have another by-election coming up, and I know for sure the side of government may not even want it now that they control and own IEBC. But I need to go through just quickly some of the things that Fuaba have touched. For example, he have mentioned with a lot of pride the Ironimau Summit, and I need to remind him that when this government came into power, they found that contract already signed from a French consortium, and they decided now that they were not part of that particular deal, they have to cancel it. They went ahead and canceled a contract and costed Kenyan 7.2 billion shillings. That is some of the things that we are saying this government does not deserve to lead anybody. Because why would you want taxpayers to pay 7-point-something billion shillings for nothing? For just a cancellation of a contract. In contract, there's something we call contract addendum, which means you could have renegotiated that contract to fit your way. We have seen what is happening, but they could not have done that because a cancellation and compensation is part of how they make money out of our pockets. But I need to tell you, Fuaba, something very interesting. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to say this. Presidential context in Kenya is a regional context. It has everything to do with how much you can be able to bring regions together. It is no longer a certain community's business. It's a regional context. And that is why this government is hell-bent to ensure that there is a crack and a division between the region of Mount Kenya to try and see whether they can use the narrative of we do not like Mount Kenya East. First and foremost, there's nothing like East and West. It is purely Watu wa Mlima, Mount Kenya people. That mountain does not have sides, unless you want to geographically describe it as Reward and Widwide. There's nothing else that we've known that has described our mountain and our people in our region. We are same people. Trying to divide us just because you picked our professor. First and foremost, professor is our son. We have no problem with that. But this is politics. This is business. That is why everybody would want to be represented by a voice, somebody who can bang the table and tell the president, you can't take our people in that direction. Not somebody who just say whatever. So what is happening, and Fuaba, is aware of this because he have talked about the school he belongs. I want to tell you, if you're not going to be able to marshal support from regional support, where certain communities that forms our country lives in, you can't become a president of this country. And one of the biggest region in terms of vote is Mount Kenya. So once that one has gone, and I've had you quote Sudi, why would we even want to listen to Sudi for a minute? We don't want to listen to Sudi on anything or any advice whatsoever, just like Junet. Those are people who do not wish well for our region. Why should they advise us? We cannot listen. So what is going to happen, Fred, is that in 2027, regions are coming together. Historically, I believe Fuaba belongs to ODM. And ODM had consolidated regions like
I've never been a member of ODM.
He says he's not a member of ODM.
Right now, nobody wants to say they are members of ODM now that ODM no longer exists. But however, from how he's speaking their language. He's speaking the language of Odinga, he's speaking the language of Junet. So I cannot be able to know whether he's ODM or UDA, but they are the same thing anyway. So whatever you belong, I need to remind you that this is a regional context. Mm-hmm. Your side, when they were going together, the UDA decided to first divorce with the Mount Kenya. And they left what made them president, as Udu would have said yesterday, out of their new cocoon or their new arrangement. But the ODM side that they were going for a marriage with also decided to leave Ukambani out. They decided to leave Kisi out because we can already see the leadership from those areas where they are talking and how their people would want things done. That is why those people in government from either of this region, they are trying to use violence as intimidation tactic. Now, when all these regions come together, when the likes of Sifuna are now slowly being accepted back home, and they will eventually produce one candidate and a deputy for a ticket of the United Alternative Government. Fred, believe it or not, if you had Sergeant Fwaba's hat, he knows this government will be going home. But I want to say something, because they want to light off this particular by-election of Ol Kalou very quickly, so that they're even asking people to stop celebrating. And they're even starting describing anger. I don't know where we have, an anger meter where you can be able to measure somebody's anger. What anger, bro? We are expressing ourselves in a manner that we know better.
Okay.
Because I've heard you say that we need to stop and this election has nothing. This election was defining the position of the people of Mount Kenya, and in regards to where they would want this government to be.
My question, Ikua, is should the president now give up on trying to convince Mount Kenya to support him next year?
If you ask me that question, I would be very honest with you, brutally honest. He should give up in vying in 2027. I don't even know why he would want to vie. If I were in his position, I would not vie. Because without the support of the people, and when people have identified ways of dealing with your violence, you can't become president in this country. You cannot. People are so vigilant, and the Ol Kalou people have taught the entire country how to vote and guard your vote. So nobody can reverse your, there's nothing that happened in this country. There's nothing good that happened in this country than the minor Kiai case, where the elections ends in the polling stations. The declaration of elections results in the polling station is actually final. That was the best thing that ever happened into this country. Whatever the other things happens of transmission and tallying and whatever, it is irrelevant. What happened at the police station is what is going to happen. And that is exactly what the rest of the country that wants to kick this country. Because people need to understand that Wantam movement is not only in Mount Kenya. If you go to any part of this country, Mombasa, Kisumu, everywhere, including that Kisumu, if you go there, you would find people who are saying it's Wantam because they want to change this government. So this is not a Mount Kenya affair as far as next year's business is concerned. It's an affair of an entire nation. And that is, they would want it to be seen as a Mount Kenya thing. That is why if you hear the kind of questioning they are saying, now should we now leave Mount Kenya out? That is exactly what they would want, to assume that you are leaving Mount Kenya out and taking the rest of the country. Where? No, the rest of the country is with us. This country is united against this government because of their doings and because of their non-performance. I want to remind Fwaba that when we were voting for this government, they had a manifesto. When you're talking about development, we know what they promised. I remember we went around the country and did something we called economic forums, because we had advised that when it comes to developing the country, and I'm happy that he is mentioning the sugarcane, he's mentioning some few other things that belongs to his region. We had said that you can only develop a country based on its regional capacities. So when you are supporting and investing, invest in Mombasa, what it is that they do. What it is that is going to work and give the people of Mombasa value. When you come to Central Kenya, the same. But they have never done that. They have started giving us housing, sijui, in some funny places like in Ol Kalou, like in Muranga, like in whatever, that they were not needed. Copy-pasting very good policies, Fred, from other places, but implementing them longly here for the purposes of just someone, opening a kiosk there. So what I'm saying, that question you asked me, whether he forgets about Mount Kenya, he should as well forget about the rest of the country because he has lost support.
All right. And I can see Fwamba here struggling because he really needs to respond to some of what you've said. Fwamba, even your identity, we don't even know which party you support. Are you a UDM member? Are you ODM?
I pronounced myself here on this panel that I only represent very objective arguments, things that I look at everything from a broad perspective.